What's up? It's Raphael with the NBA Draft Junkies podcast. Special guest today. Hopefully the third time is a charm. We've had a couple podcasts that wasn't able to air, which is totally my fault. But this time we're going to make it happen. I have my guy Elias Rodriguez. He is very, very knowledgeable about the NBA draft. And he's on to talk about, or actually just he's on here to discuss his big board, and he has a little bit extra as far as what he's going to discuss. So, Elias, what's going on, man?
Doing well. How are you doing today?
Doing good. It's early. The last couple that we've done have been pretty early. So let's get right into it. So we're going to talk about your 2021 NBA Draft big board, and who is the number one player on your big board?
All right, I'm gonna stick with Cade Cunningham here at number one. I think he'll probably stay number one for me the entire year. He hasn't disappointed. He's been super efficient. He's shown that shot creating ability. I really like how his step back is coming around. Also, how he's able just to like throw around his body and get into the paint like with ease. He doesn't have to really do too much. He's just a couple moves. He uses his body. I also like how his mid-range game is developing, especially where he's like backing people down. I think that's a really valuable asset now, even if it's not in the regular season. I think when the game slows down in the playoffs, that's extremely valuable. And yeah, I think he's looking really good. His shot looks great, and I don't see any reason why he shouldn't go number one.
Yeah, man, he's been really impressive, and like you said, he's efficient with his moves. If he's going to give you a move, and if he doesn't break you down, he's still attacking. He's just going to put his body on you. So he has the perfect combination of offensive creativity and size. And we haven't even really talked about his playmaking, which I think that we probably won't get a chance to see how good of a playmaker he is because he doesn't have really talented teammates around him. And I think once he gets to the NBA with better floor spacing and better shooters around him, we're going to see how just impactful and how effective he is as a playmaker. So do you have a comparison for him?
I mean, right now for me, I'm sticking with Luka Doncic. I think especially with how like the step back's been coming, I think I see that developing. And I think in the sense that he is a really good passer, but on top of that, it's like the difference between a passer and like a playmaker and a shot creator. I think I definitely see him as a guy who can make plays, make shots. I think he's going to be in the NBA if he really reaches his potential. I think he's going to be dancing with the type of numbers Luka Doncic has, and he's going to really be able to lead a team to some wins. And I think just someone like him I think he could have a really high usage rate like Luka and just lead a team and definitely put up some numbers and get some wins.
Yeah, hopefully a franchise doesn't overthink it like we saw in Luka's draft. I thought that he was the best player, but I also did not think that he was going to be taken number one for things that were totally out of his control. I didn't think a franchise was going to have the guts to take another European player number one just because a lot of people who don't really follow the NBA draft closely had a lot of doubts about Luka coming into the draft because they said he wasn't athletic, he was too slow. For whatever reasons, he was always being compared to Darko, which is something that he had no control over. It was just a lazy comparison. And I think, I feel like with Phoenix, they already knew they were going to take Ayton just because of the ties to University of Arizona. I think the Kings, there are rumors that Divac didn't like Luka's dad, so he didn't take him. Whatever it was a mistake. And so I don't think teams are going to make the same mistake twice with Cade Cunningham. But I do think there are a couple guys that could possibly give him a challenge. I don't think it's a runaway yet. So my number two would be, I don't know yet, to be honest with you. I go back and forth. On one hand, I say it's going to be Jalen Suggs. Then 10 minutes later, I may think it's Evan Mobley. So who is your number two on your big board?
Even after kind of a inconsistent start in the G League, I still go Jalen Green here. I think it's really hard to ignore the tools he has. Just how he can get off the ground, and just he's a high flyer. He has a really really quick first step. I also really like what he's getting right now in his mid range, just stopping on a dime and like hitting a mid range. He's getting really really good at that. He's got to get more consistent from three. I think he's got this shot from his chest where he kind of still flares at his elbow. But I think for him, the G League, the fact that they're going to have so much time to develop him and work him out, I'm hopeful that his jump shot can develop. I also like he's filled out a little bit. He's still pretty skinny, but he's put on a little weight in their weight program. I definitely have a lot of concerns with him. He still doesn't have a great left hand, and I think if he doesn't reach his potential, he's going to be pretty limited in what he can contribute to a team if he can't play off ball. But I think he could really be dynamite on offense, and I think he definitely has the tools to be a good defender. But we've definitely seen him both in high school and we didn't see much in the G League, but just be a little not focused on defense.
What do you think about him playing with better teammates as far as being able to blend in and not have everything ran through him? Because I saw him play a high school game here in Dallas, and he might have had like 49 points. He was dominant. And then I saw him play with Team USA. He came off the bench. I mean, he was behind Cade and Tyrese Halliburton, but I felt like he was best suited in that role coming off the bench where everything was ran through him. And so it seems, and this is just my opinion, and I don't have a lot of I guess I can say I don't have a fair assessment on him outside of high school because I haven't seen any of the G League stuff. But how do you think he works as a guy that once you get him in the NBA as a rookie and he's surrounded by players that are better than him? Do you think that he can contribute in a role where everything is not ran through him?
I don't think immediately. I think he'll be really, really raw, look really raw, especially if he's in a role where like he has to contribute a little, not as the number one option. I think he's going to really have to lean into defense. I think he's definitely has the tools to be a great defender. But I think he's going to have to lean into that if he wants to make an impact as not the first option on a team. I think in high school, you have to give him some credit for how high level he was leading a high level team in prolific prep. I mean, they had a lot of other Division I players on there. They had Amari Burnett, Texas Tech, Coleman Hawkins at Illinois, and he did lead a good team. I think in the G League, it's apparent he might not be top dog yet. I think there's not a power struggle between him and Jonathan Kuminga, but it's kind of hard to see who's the number one player on that team right now. But I think he has to give some effort on D if he wants to make an impact as a not first option, but yeah.
All right, now who do you compare him to?
I have like two comparisons here. I don't really see the similarities in their game too much, which is a weird thing to say before a comparison, but I see the it factor with Kobe Bryant. I just think there's something special about when Jalen Green plays and he comes onto the court with this confidence and just this like kill mentality that I definitely see from Kobe. I found this one online and I kind of liked it in terms of if he's not Kobe, another Lakers player, Eddie Jones. I thought was a solid comparison.
I saw that one. But do you take Eddie Jones as the number 2 pick in a loaded draft? And I mean, Eddie had a good career, no doubt. But I wonder if this is one of those things where if Eddie Jones is a comparison, do you feel like you can find a better player?
I mean, absolutely. But if he reaches, Kobe light status, then you're gonna have to take him number 2.
Right. Or number 1, because
yeah.
arguably The best player ever. All right, who is
Yeah.
number 3 on your list?
And then number 3, I have Jonathan Kuminga. I love Jonathan Kuminga's game. I think,
So the G League would be happy to hear that their guys'
are
stock
still
has
high.
not dropped. They're still number 2 and 3 on your board. That would be a big win for the G League Pass program.
He had both games. He had 26 and 21, I think, or 22 in his first 2 G League games. He looks really good. He's athletic. He's handling the ball a little bit better, which I wanted to see from him because in high school he was definitely a little bit limited with the ball in his hands. He's just really athletic. He's got a lot of potential on defense. I see some of the playmaking is there. He's gone 3 for 10, so like 30% in his first 2 games from 3. But I do like his jump shot. I think he has good mechanics, and I think he could develop into a good shooter. He doesn't really get enough lift on it right now, and I think sometimes it comes off a little flat and it's inconsistent. But I think he could really develop into a good shooter. And I think just with how high his potential is, you can't really teach some of the stuff he has, and I think he could be a really good player.
Yeah, he's a very interesting prospect because I think defensively he has a high upside. He should be able to defend at least 2 through 4, maybe 1 through 4. Good athlete. What do you think his ceiling is, and who would you compare him to?
My comparisons, I have Giannis and Pascal Siakam. I think he does pass the ball really well, and I think he has that potential to Giannis to kind of start his own fast break and just make plays for himself and for others. And then on top of that, with the Pascal Siakam comparison, I think he'll probably be a better shooter than Giannis is. But I think in kind of that like athletic point forward mold is where he's going to fit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see the comparisons. I don't know if he'll be as dominant as Giannis, but maybe a little less dominant, but be a better outside shooter. So if he can come in between Giannis and Siakam, that's definitely a win for whoever drafts him. All right, who's number 4?
Yeah, for sure. Number 4, Jalen Suggs. I had in my initial pre-college basketball season, I had Jalen Suggs outside of my top 10, and I definitely can't do that now after seeing him play. For me, what I really wanted to see from him coming out of high school was kind of shake the combo guard label, and I think he's definitely been able to do that. I've seen him make some really good reads out of the pick and roll, watching his games, and then on top of that, he's been shooting really well from 3. I think he's got 2.5 steals. Yeah, really well. He's averaging like 2.5 steals a game. I really like how active he is on ball and like in the passing lane on defense. And I think he can be a really good point guard, and he has all the tools. He attacks the basket strong, and kind of his football background, he's really good at throwing his body into contact, and isn't shy away from contact. So I really, really like how he's been playing. He's been a little inconsistent in the free throw line. To me, it definitely isn't anything wrong with his touch or mechanics. It just seems like there might be something mental holding him back there. He's just in a little bit of a slump right now there, but I expect him to pick that up.
Yeah, he's had a couple games below 60%, a couple games where he didn't make a free throw. I think for the season, it's 58% from the free throw line.
Yeah.
55% from 3, almost 55% from the field, but 58% from the free throw line. I've never seen 54, 55, 58% splits. What do you think about his decision making? So I feel like outside of the Iowa game, he's done an excellent job of taking care of the ball. He's only had 2 turnovers. I think the most he's had is 2 turnovers, and he's had in a few games. But then the Iowa game, it was a 7 turnover game. Now, I will mentioned that they had gone like 17 days without playing, so it could have been a little bit of rust early. So what do you think about him as a decision maker? Because he did have the reputation of kind of being a point, but also more so of a combo in a sense, like you mentioned. But other than that game, he's done an excellent job, in my opinion, of decision making. So do you think that as the season goes on, he'll be more like the player that we saw against Kansas, where I don't even think he had a turnover that game? Or will he be somewhere in the middle between Kansas and Iowa?
I think probably more so towards like the Kansas game. I think he's going to keep making strides. He's made really big strides since high school in his decision making. I mean, in high school, he was early deep threes in the shot clock, early in the shot clock. He was kind of making gamble full court passes that probably weren't the right decision, and I definitely see incredible strides from his senior year to now. And I think he's going to continue to improve, and I think he's going to be a really, really good decision maker by the time the draft rolls around.
Who do you compare him to?
I said kind of like Chauncey Billups, bigger Chauncey Billups. I don't. He's just he's a good scorer. I think he'll be a solid passer as well. I think he's more athletic than Chauncey Billups is, but
Young Chauncey was pretty athletic though.
Yeah.
All right,
So
number 5.
Number 5, I've gotten much higher on him just because he's looked really good. Evan Mobley.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely wasn't expecting him to have as much in his toolbox as he's shown in his first games at USC. He has really, really good touch around the rim. He's made some threes. I'd actually like to see him shoot a little bit more. But mid range looks good. He's made some nice passing reads. He's actually, for a big, I've seen him make some live dribble passes.
Yes,
like
very
which
good
to me
passer.
is really, really impressive to see a big take a couple dribbles and whip it with one hand to an open man. And then on top of that, yeah, just his ability to put the ball on the floor has been looking good. For me, what I'd like to see him do is put on some weight. I feel like sometimes he's not the best screen setter. I feel like when he's a good roll man, but if he can put on some weight, I think that would help him become a better screen setter, and that would take his game as a roll man a long way. But he's got a lot of potential. I think he can be the type of guy who's really valuable to some team. Yeah.
Who is your best comparison?
I said softer Kevin Garnett. I think I see a lot of the similarities in between their game. I just think he's not. I definitely see a motor there. I just don't see kind of the dog Kevin Garnett was. I mean,
Same
not many people can have that same type of intensity, but I definitely see in how they play, I see a lot of Kevin Garnett in him.
Yeah, he's very skilled. He's been one of my favorite players to watch so far. I think his upside is off the charts because I think he will develop into a very reliable three-point shooter, and passing has been impressive. Like, I can think of a couple passes where he found cutters. There's one particular play where he got the rebound and he made like a Kevin Love outlet pass. He's running 5-4 or 4-5 pick and rolls with his brother. He's found the corner. I just think that the sky's the limit for him. I think that, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to see him go as high as number 2, in my opinion, just because I think that he should be able to contribute to winning basketball and also be a rim protector. Now, he's not going to be, like a rah guy like Garnett, or he's not gonna, I don't know, he's probably not gonna change games or make an impact with his intensity in a sense. But we saw Tim Duncan dominate for years in the same kind of way, just kind of quiet, mild-mannered demeanor. There were questions about Mobley's motor coming into this season, as far as like his motor and his toughness. I think he's done a pretty decent job so far early in the season of addressing those concerns. But I like him a lot. Like I said, I struggle between him and Suggs as who I would take at number 2 right now. So, all right, now we've got, at least in my opinion, I feel like the top 5 on most people's mock drafts are pretty consistent. And this is where it gets a little tricky. As compared to the 2020 NBA draft, everybody's mock was different from number 1 to 2 and 3. I feel like there's somewhat of a consensus here. But it gets tricky at number 6. So, who is number 6 on your board?
Preseason he was my number 4, but he dropped a little bit. I'm still not. I don't see his struggles as something that's long term. I'm sticking with BJ Boston at number 6. I think a lot of his struggles are. I think Kentucky is just in some sort of slump as a whole right now, and I'm not gonna completely. I think, of course, some of his struggles are on himself, of course, but I'm not gonna completely say he can't shoot the ball or anything like that, because I definitely know he was a 40% shooter from 3 in high school, and he was taking deep threes. It wasn't the high school line the entire time. So I think he definitely is still a good shooter. I've also liked to see. I've seen in this situation he's definitely had some perseverance, and his confidence has shown through. I thought if you took away his jump shot, he really wouldn't have anything, but I've seen him able to honestly take contact a lot better, considering how skinny he is, going to the basket. And then I also see him, he's looked really active on defense. And I think the jump shot will come. I think for him, someone who's as confident as him, and then from what I've heard from coaches of his and parents and stuff like that, he's a really, really hard worker. And I trust that his jump shot will improve. But I would like to see, actually, as he gets into the NBA, he gets that release point up a little bit. I just think with arms as long as his, I think I like kind of a higher release point, especially as a scorer. I think it's helpful. So, and it'll make a shot probably go in a little more. But he looks good to me. I just think the inconsistency doesn't tell the full story.
Yeah, I mean, I like what I see as far as like with the eye test. I like how he plays tough, even though he's really skinny. He plays bigger than his size. Like I have a category where like I call guys like skinny tough, and that's a category that I had Brandon Ingram in. Even though he was probably like $180 when he was in college, he fought for rebounds. He rebounded in traffic. He attacked the paint. He wasn't afraid of contact, and that's one of the things that I see with Boston. But man, the shooting numbers are just awful at this
Abysmal.
point.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
It's not a better way to describe it. He's at like 37% from the floor, 17% from 3. He's rebounding well. 6 rebounds per game as a wing is pretty good in my opinion. As far as like turning the ball over, he's averaging 1 more turnover than assist. So I would like to see him become like a better passer, or at least better at making plays for others. It seems like once he gets the ball, he's going into ISO mode and he's looking for a shot every time. It would be tough, at least for me, to keep him in the same position that I had him in coming into the draft. I mean, into this season, because I know Kentucky's a mess, but he's been a part of their mess because he can't shoot. Or at least he hasn't shown that he can shoot on the college level. Maybe it's a confidence thing. I mean, we saw Tyrese Maxey struggle with his shooting, but he was still around 29, 30%. But right now, Boston is 17%. He's struggling a lot with his jumper. But let's just say, best case scenario, who do you compare him to?
I said, well, who you just said, Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
For me,
and I wonder, is it like, because they physically look the same.
Yeah, that's for me. It's they have the same tools. I also think he's probably going to have a very similar once he gets into the league. I think he's going to have a very similar progression to Brandon Ingram. I think the shot isn't going to come immediately, although I do think he is able to shoot. I just think it's going to take a little time. But yeah, I see also, as you said, like the toughness there. Boston's definitely been able to get after, honestly, offensive rebounds pretty well during his time at Kentucky so far, and of course on defense as well. So I see a lot of BI in Brandon.
Yeah, see, I'm a big Ingram fan, but I felt like, at least with Ingram, I thought at the minimum he was going to be a floor spacer because he shot 40% from three as a freshman at Duke. And if everything didn't come together, I still think, okay, he can just be Channing Frye at the worst. And then it's like he got to the NBA and then he stopped shooting threes. And then he started settling for all mid-range pull-ups. But then last year when he got to New Orleans, he started shooting threes again. And I want to say he was around 40%.
40%, yeah.
But I've always been like a big Ingram guy. I was the person that said I would take Ingram over Simmons, number one, and I looked foolish the first year. Not the first year, but the first 2 years, because everybody was in love with Ben Simmons. But what I like about Ingram is he's getting better, and I feel like Simmons has flatlined. Like he's pretty much stayed the same. All right, so number 7. Who's number 7 on your list?
Number 7, I got Scottie Barnes out of Florida State. I think he's
a winner.
He has so much effect on that Florida State team outside of the box score, but he's just, his energy. I feel like he's gonna be a glue guy that is super valuable to a championship team. The way he can pass the ball. He's actually been a really good ball handler, a really good floor general. I didn't give him as much credit for his ball handling as I've seen at Florida State right now. He's really, really athletic. He's been dunking the ball. He's not shooting great from three, but it's better than I thought it would be at this point in time. So it's good to see something from there. I think he definitely needs to improve from the free throw line. He's shooting like 40%, but I think he'll probably steadily improve from there. I just think when you have a guy who's as impactful to winning as he is, I just don't think you can pass him up around here, especially with the kind of potential he has with his skills and his desire to get better. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a winner. I don't think you can judge him solely on the numbers that you see that he puts up, because right now, just looking at his numbers, you see 44% from the floor, which is okay, but 26.7% from three, around 42% from the foul line, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 10 points. But I think that he is a high impact winner that just does things that don't always show up on the stat sheet. But I also feel like he has the baseline of skills to where he can become a better shooter. I think that he'd be a weapon in the NBA because he can defend multiple positions, but you play him at the 4, he's going to be able to make plays for others. I just see him as an ultimate glue guy / winner, and someone that just impacts the game as opposed to someone that puts up 20 points and they don't really, have an impact, empty calorie stats. But I like him a lot. Now, who would you compare him to?
He's at 6'9" now, 227. So the comparison I'm giving is Bam Adebayo. When I see him handle the ball and I see him making plays, both off the dribble and in the post, I see a lot of Bam Adebayo in him, especially the way he can affect the game outside of the stat sheet. And I do think he has that type of potential. And yeah, same with also, they're both really, really athletic, 6'9", 7'2" wingspan.
That's a good one.
See it.
I've seen Draymond Green type impact I mean, he's bigger
Bigger.
than Draymond as far as height, but as far as just a guy that you can play at the 4, who if he's on a team with other players, he'll just basically do all the dirty work and make sure that everything is together like a connective tissue. So I could see the combination of Bam and Draymond, which is an all-star, and that's a good person that every coach would love to have that type of player on their team.
Yeah.
All right, number 8.
All right. Number 8 for me is Josh Christopher.
Oh, now we got to talk about
State.
this one.
I ever since he was in high school, I really like Josh Christopher. He's got a great body for going in the NBA. He's really strong. He finishes above the rim well. He forced the issue a lot in high school and kind of played too fast sometimes, but I see him slowing down and using a little more pace when he's playing in college right now. He can definitely score at 2 levels. He can score in the mid-range and he can score at the basket. I think from the 3 right now, I think he has potential from 3 because he's an 87% free throw shooter right now and he shoots well around the basket. I think it's clear that he has touch. I just think from 3 there are some consistent inconsistencies in his jump shot. He kicks out his legs sometimes. He has a little bit of a hitch in his shot. And I think with an NBA coach, he can really fix that and he can be a prolific 3-level scorer on the next level. I don't think he'll ever be like a 40% 3-point shooter. I think he'll always be a little streaky, but I think if he could be like 35%, 36% in the NBA, he's a really effective player.
I like him. I like that he's an aggressive scorer. I love his confidence. He walks on the court feeling like he's the best player. I think sometimes his confidence can get him into trouble because his shot selection, I think, needs a lot of work. He reminds me of a guy that watched a lot of Kobe Bryant tapes.
Yeah.
And he has this quote unquote Mamba mentality where I think it's tough to like really duplicate Kobe unless you have his work ethic. Not saying that he doesn't have his work ethic, but Kobe, and you can even say this for a lot of guys. I think there's guys like Kobe, even Allen Iverson, even like a Steph Curry to a certain extent, that if guys are playing too much like them, it could end up hurting them as opposed to helping them. Not bad guys to emulate, but I've gone to high school games and I see kids shooting from 35 feet, taking contested threes off the dribble like Steph. There's only one Steph. Or even Kyrie. You can say the same thing about Kyrie or Harden. There may be kids that try to emulate them, play like them, and you have to be a decent passer also to be able to play like them, because you have to be able to be a threat as a passer, in my opinion. If you're going to be an elite scorer, you have to know how to move the ball. Yeah. And one of the things about Christopher that I feel that he's really behind in is as a playmaker and as a passer. He could end up falling into the Nick Young type game, or even Alondra Trier, who was a phenomenal scorer. He was one of my favorite players to watch a few years ago in college because he was just a ridiculous finisher. And he's had some success in the NBA, but right now, as of today, he's currently out of the league because I guess he's put in a box as a guy that's only good at putting the ball in the basket, and that's it. So for Christopher, I'm not as high on him as far as having him in the top 10, just because I don't really see the passing instincts or even wanting to pass. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now. I can pull them up, but I think there's like a significant difference between his turnovers and assists.
Yeah, he's got one assist and 1.7 turnovers.
Well, I guess it's not that bad, but I guess it's not that bad. I mean, there are other guys that are worse. It just seems like he doesn't pass. But then that whole Arizona State team, when I watch them, it looks like everybody's just whoever has the ball last is pounding it and going one-on-one.
And yeah,
So I would like to see him just improve as a passer, playmaker, because if he doesn't, then it ends up putting him in a box as just a guy that can only get buckets. And then the way the NBA is going, you end up having to roll off the bench or you can be out. So you have to be able to make plays for others.
yeah.
All right.
I think that's definitely true. That's something he has to work on.
So who is your comparison for him?
This is one I had like a lot of difficulty with. One of them was Nick Young. I said I actually he hasn't really played an NBA game yet, but I see a lot of similarities with Anthony Edwards. But I think he's kind of like Harden without the passing a little bit. He can that attacker to that basket and the 3-level scorer. Maybe I'm just making this comparison because of Arizona State, but I don't think he'll ever be the passer Harden is and have that pick and roll game. But I think in terms of attacking the basket and just being a guy who can score, I think he has some potential as a really, really good scorer.
Oh, yeah. Putting the ball in the basket is not going to be his issue.
No.
It's just going to be making plays for others, reading double teams, and not necessarily, I don't know, because being an aggressive scorer, that is who he is. You don't want to take away who he is and what makes him the player that everyone loves. It's just finding that balance between playmaking, making plays for others and not taking tough shots. Again, like, and it's just my opinion. I feel like he watches a lot of Kobe and not a bad player to watch. I mean, Kobe is arguably top 5 player. Some people may say he's the best player of all time, but I think Kobe is so underrated as a passer that a lot of people see him taking the tough shots. And yes, he did take a lot of shots because his confidence level was ridiculous. But Kobe was a good passer, and a lot of people don't see that. And I think Christopher probably watched a lot of Kobe, but not paid attention to how Kobe read the defense and how Kobe could literally make every play as a passer. All right, so
6 assist season, yeah.
What's that?
I said he did have some 6 assist seasons.
Kobe could definitely pass the ball, but it's like I said, it's so underrated part of his game. You only see about the shooting and the tough shots and the shot making and the clutch shots, yada, yada, yada. All right, number 9. Okay, who is number 9 on your list?
I had no clue who he was last year, and only this year have I been made aware of him, but I definitely can't put him past here. James Bouknight at number 9.
UConn, okay.
He's just a scorer. He's a really good scorer. I was watching that 40-point game. He has a lot in his bag. He's a really good shooter right now. He's a solid shooter. Not a really good shooter. He's a solid shooter, but I think he could become a better shooter. I like his athleticism. He's got a lot he can do around the rim in terms of just some body control finishes that they look really nice. Also, it's just finishing above the rim, and then he's got some tricks in the mid range, and he's a really, really good scorer. And I think that translates to the next level. I'd like to see him become just develop more as a defender. I don't think he's a terrible defender, but I think he definitely has the tools to be a good defender. So, yeah.
He's someone that kind of slid under the radar last year. I think if I were an NBA team, I would have tried to give him a guarantee because you could have got him pretty late. You know, if you're like, I don't know, Lakers, Bucks, any of those teams that were picking late in the first round, I think you could have sent out some word like, hey, if you come out, we'll give you a guarantee, because now they have no shot at getting him because he could. I mean, he's a lottery pick as of today, in my opinion. I like him because he's a shot creator. He can create his own shot.
Yeah.
He's he's more of a scorer than a shooter right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But he puts the ball in the basket. Very good rebounder. He's averaging almost 6 rebounds a game, and he's athletic. I mean, I just like a lot of what he does. I think he also needs to improve as a passer. Right now, his turnovers almost double his assist. It's like 2.8 turnovers, 1.5 assists. And I'm really big on my scores to be really good decision makers.
Yeah.
But I think that's an area that he can improve on. But he does show some passing instincts. I think that he shows better vision and passing instincts than Christopher. That's just my opinion. But again, if you look at the numbers, Christopher has a better assist to turnover ratio or turnover to assist ratio, even though they're both negative. Bouknight is close to 3 turnovers a game. But to me, that's the next step for him to improve on, just like Christopher, becoming a playmaker, a better decision maker, and just being able to make players better. But he's in a situation where he may have to shoot a lot of shots and pretty much carry the offense. But I really like what I see out of him. He's definitely made a big name for himself so far early in the season.
Yeah, I think if he gets on a team with a player who's got the ball in his hands a lot, I think if he can develop as that sort of secondary playmaker, I think any team that has a number one option that needs a little bit of the ball handling duties taken off their hands and a little bit of the scoring load, I think if he can improve as a playmaker and a passer and just a decision maker, I think he can be really valuable kind of in that role for a team.
Yep. Now, who do you compare him to?
I have 2 comparisons here. I think like kind of a not quite as athletic Zach LaVine was one comparison I had, and then Jordan Clarkson was another comparison I had.
I can
just
see that.
kind of skinny, not shooters, but good scorers and shot makers, and so some athleticism.
All right, number 10, last one.
All right, number 10 here. I got Greg Brown. I'm keeping him in my top 10. I was much higher on him coming in. I'm still pretty high on him. I really like his game. He's finding his stride right now in Texas. I think it was a rough couple of games, but he's getting his confidence back.
Shooting the ball pretty well the last few games.
He's shooting the ball pretty well the last few games, and he's shown not waiver confidence to take him. He's taking almost 5 attempts a game from 3, which I really like to see for him, honestly, in terms of his development. I think him being a good spot-up shooter is going to be really important for what he can bring to an NBA team in the future.
It's going to open everything up. If he can knock down open shots, man, you close out on him, it's one dribble and he's at the moon. So, yeah, I definitely think that is key for him. But also, like you said, I like the fact that he's letting it fly. Like, he got off to a slow start, and he had a game where he only had like 2 points or something like that, one of the first or second games of the season. And I think in a similar situation, some guys may say, oh man, my shot isn't falling. I need to protect my draft stock. And if it's an area that they are not really strong at, they would try to avoid it. Like, he didn't have the reputation as a good 3-point shooter coming into the season. And he's been able to just be confident in his shot despite getting off to a slow start. So I like what I see out of Greg Brown. I would like to see him rebound a little bit more. He shows flashes. Like, I think he had a 14 rebound game or a 10 rebound game. And then there's some games where he doesn't really attack the glass. But I've had a chance to watch him play live. I saw him in high school, and I didn't see him at AU, but it was just a regular high school game. And, man, he was a phenomenal rim protector on that level.
Yeah.
I mean, just because he gets off the ground so fast. I think that he has a really, really high upside as a defender. But one of the things that I haven't really seen as far as like the raw numbers is the blocks and the steals that I was expecting.
Yeah, he's got 1.5 blocks per game right now. So not bad. I think there's there's a lot of potential, as you said, with just how quick he can get off the ground. As a rim protector, I think, and as a defender, I think a lot of his struggles at defense would be, I think just as he gets better timing, one thing on his blocks, but two, also, outside of just being a rim protector, putting on some weight.
Yep.
I definitely have, I just have a very vivid memory from when I was watching the other day, watching Cade Cunningham and OSU versus Texas. He had a great game, but Cade Cunningham goes to the basket. He throws his shoulder into Greg Brown, and Greg Brown completely can't wall up. He's backing up out of the way, and seeing that against Cade Cunningham's a smaller guy, and he's not as long as Greg Brown is. He definitely needs to put on some weight so he can wall up a little better. But I think there's so much potential as a defender, and you see the flashes here and there that I think he's gonna. That's not something I'm worried about. I think he'll get there.
It's almost like they've played with each other. Like you could tell that they know each other well, and they've probably played a lot of one-on-one after practices with the Texas Titans. And it was like Cade knew, all I have to do is put my shoulder into him, and I can get to where I want to get on the floor, because he just doesn't have the strength to just absorb contact, especially from someone like Cade, who's at least 220, what he's been listed as. But Cade's a big boy. He can do that to a lot of guys. So, all right. So who is your comparison for him?
I saw kind of like Aaron Gordon, just like a little taller and skinnier. And then also, I don't think he's Anthony Davis, because I don't think he's nearly as skilled as Anthony Davis, but I think he can be in the kind of mold of that center who can hit spot up shots, make shots around the rim. And I think that's the type of value he could really, if he's truly potential, he could have to the next level.
Yep. I like him. I think, like I said, his upside as a defender, he should be able to defend, 1 through 4 in certain matchups, switchy, vertical lob threat. And if he can just show some consistency in the jumper, I'm not as concerned about him being a one-on-one player, like a shot creator, as far as his ball handling. I think all he really has to do is be able to knock down open shots and attack closeouts with straight line drives, and he'll be able to make plays. I don't want him to become a good three-point shooter and fall in love with it and then totally like abandon his athleticism to where you only see it in transition. I mean, I think of guys like Jalen Green, who is a freak athlete, but you rarely see him put the ball on the floor. And it's almost like if he catches the ball, he has to let it fly, because he can't really do much with it from there. Same thing with Terrence Ferguson. He never developed being able to put the ball on the floor.
He's really athletic though.
Oh yeah. I worked with T. Ferg's AAU team in his prep school his last year. Fergus, man, I've seen that guy in pants, no warm up, windmill. Just, I mean, he can windmill from the free throw line. That's how athletic Ferg is. I think Derrick Jones Jr. is another comparison that, for Greg Brown.
Yeah.
Derrick Jones he made a name for himself in Miami, was out of their rotation during the playoffs. I don't know if it was just because he was out the rotation or when he had the little stinger injury. He never really recovered from that as far as getting his minutes back, but he's projected to start for Portland this year. And I'm a Blazers fan, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how he plays in that role.
I'm a Heat fan, so I kind of wanted him to stay with us. I really like him, but
got Harkless in return, player, which is the last time Harkless played for Portland. We were in the conference finals. So, but yeah, I like him. I just think, like I said earlier, he needs to improve as a shooter. But I like what I've seen as far as his confidence and how he's been able to bounce back after such a slow start, because probably like most people, when I saw his first 3 or 4 games, I was like, oh yeah, his stock is falling. He's just an athlete. I think that he still could be a lottery pick because there's so many physical tools and so many things that you can't find in basketball players that he has.
Mm-hmm.
But the last couple of games has definitely pushed him from late lottery, mid first round to possibly top 10. So I like what I've seen out of him the last couple of games. So definitely want to see if he can keep it up in conference play.
Yeah, if he keeps it up, I think he's top 10 for sure, at least for me.
Yep.
He stays there.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for coming on. I really appreciate it. I definitely want to have you back on again, and maybe we can do 15 through 30. And then I know, like for me, first week of January, I actually want to do a mock draft. I wanted to at least have maybe 10 games under all the players' belt before I came out with a mock draft. I don't know if I'll be able to reach 10 games within the next week and a half because Gonzaga probably only played like 5. Some teams have only played like 6 or 7. Then, of course, the G League guys, I don't even have access to that footage. So my mock is probably going to be a little premature for me. I never put out a mock like going into the preseason because I just don't know how guys are going to adjust to college. There's a lot of guys that, you look at last year's draft. Nico Mannion, you can say R.J. Hampton, Isaiah Stewart, Jaden McDaniels, all of those guys were top 10 picks. Josh Green coming into last season, as far as like before the season started. And then none of them were selected in the lottery. So I try to wait until at least 10 games under their belt. But anyway, thanks again for coming on. This is Raphael with the NBA Draft Junkies podcast. I got Elias Rodriguez. Get used to the name. He'll definitely be on in the near future. And we are